Hi folks, and welcome back to another app review with Braun Bytes. We're looking at Remind, what used to be called Remind 101 today. So I'm going to take you through some of the useful features, how the app works, how it's set up. We're also going to look at the terms of service, look at some pros and cons, and then finally I'll give my thoughts and overall review for the app itself. So let's get started and we'll go over to my main page here. I've been using this app for a couple of years now, and I've found that since my move to high school, it's been more useful there than it was definitely with the younger kids. But be that as it may, I'll kind of take you through some of the features of the app. So this is how the web page is set up. You can also get the app via App Store or Android, which works really nicely because you can send quick messages from your phone or tablet, whichever is easier for you. So once you get set up with the app, you'll start to create your classes here. So simple create class button here on the side, and here's some of the ones that I've been using it for. I found that it's most useful for clubs, so Campbell Outdoor Club for example, or the soccer team, as well as my CAP class, which is my advisory group, homeroom, and then also my Wellness 10 class, just because we're moving around quite a bit and it's nice to be able to send out a change of schedule if there's been something with the weather or the gym schedule has changed. So it's another nice feature as well. Then once you click on a class, the kids will be able to join using a code. So the kids will text this code to a certain number, which will allow messages to be sent directly to that cellular device without the exchange of student phone numbers. So that's the really nice thing about it, is that there's no exchange of actual texting numbers. It's just via this service here. So their teachers don't have access to any student numbers or info like that. So this is an example of my CAP class here, and I'll just take you through some of the previous messages that have been sent. So here you can see, for example, I can send this one out. Please bring your registration forms to CAP tomorrow if you haven't already handed them in. So it's a nice way to just deliver a quick message to students about upcoming events or things they need to hand to you. If we go over to the Wellness 10 group, so this is in French obviously, but it's a nice way to just tell kids that for example, we need to switch to gym 2 tomorrow, so don't forget change of clothes and gym shoes. So that's kind of a nice way to do it. And then actually students can interact with the message as well. So you can see someone has given it a thumbs up here. And you can choose to allow students to actually answer back to the text or not. So if you wanted to post a discussion question or something like that, you would be able to allow kids to actually text back or answer back to your messages. So I'll take you through a couple of things because there's some nice features here when we go to add in a message. So let's go Wellness 10, and then one nice thing that you can do is also to add to your message via these services. So if you wanted to upload a photo or video, you could do that. You could upload a file from your computer. You could also use an app called Quizlet, which allows quick little quizzes to be posted. You can actually sync it even with your Google Classroom. So I'm going to click on that one, and then here, as you can see, here's the Google Classroom for this same class. And so I can, if I need to, click and drag over things that I've already posted in the Google Classroom, which is really nice as well. So I'm going to just type in here, don't forget gym shoes tomorrow. There we go. Okay, and then we can also actually schedule when the text will be sent out. So this is a nice feature that I've used quite a bit. If I don't want to forget to send a message out to kids, I could put in a certain date and time, and then the app will actually send the message out at that time as well, which is a nice feature for sure. Another thing that they've just recently added is the option for school and district plans. So if you go to the website, there is if we go back to terms of service here, there's a new feature where they're offering specific plans to school districts and specific schools. So here we would have, for example, school-wide rostering, longer messages, voice calls even, admin management controls, communication logs, things like that. So our school doesn't use this, but I'd be curious to look into Here's a few that actually use these as a district or as a school, so that might be something to look into as well. All right, if we go back here, we'll just get into some of the terms of service for this app. So like many other social media apps, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act requires that we notify parents and obtain their consent before collecting information. So for children under 13, we definitely need to be thinking. I wouldn't recommend this for people really to use under 13. It's nice for a parent group or a coaching group, let's say, if you want to send messages to the parents in your class. But I would say stick with that age of 13 if you're going to be messaging students themselves. So we would have 13 as kind of a minimum age requirement. And as we go down here, it's fairly straightforward as far as terms of service. They are under the complying with COPPA, so what they need to do is make sure that children's right to privacy is protected, obviously. They are going to collect certain pieces of information from kids. That would basically be names for the most part. And other than that, there's not a whole lot of other information that's required for kids to actually sign in, which is kind of nice because it keeps it fairly simple. But the main thing would be to get that parent consent. Make sure that your administration is aware of it as well, that you're going to be using this application, just in case there were ever concerns that came forth with regard to communication with a student or something like that. So we'll go through some of the pros and cons. So one of the main things that I found with this app is that it's really easy to use. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to set up. You can create classes fairly easily, and the messages shoot straight to students, and they can see that and respond back if needed. And it's just a nice simple way, rather than trying to write a whole bunch of emails or send out Google Classroom announcements, for example. This way you've got direct to their phones, the message would pop up in notifications. It's fairly accessible, so it means that in this day and age most kids are going to have some sort of device with them most of the time, especially in high school, so it's a really nice way to make sure that your messages are getting out to kids. Some have argued that it kind of enables kids because it's, we're basically helping them with each of the things that they need to remember, but I find it more so a communication tool rather than just sending out reminders about homework. I tend to use it more for important announcements and things coming up. So it helps kids stay organized. I found that it helps me stay organized as well, making sure that kids know when and where we're meeting and where we're at, and what content to be looking over for the next day, etc. And it's nice because it's protected, right? So there's no cell phone numbers exchanged, and kids have access to all the messages that you send, and if they need to respond back, you can allow that. If you don't want kids responding back, you don't have to allow that either. Some of the cons with this app include the fact that if you are in a school where there's it's a low let's say literacy rate, or if there's lots of newcomers to Canada and things like that, it may be that this app would cause more confusion, or would be maybe a little bit tougher to get going with some of the parents, although that could quickly be solved by something like a technology night, or just to introduce the app and what you're going to be using it for. Also, in schools where kids don't have, or all your kids in your class may not have a cell phone, obviously it wouldn't make as much sense to be sending messages to just half your class. So that's one of the limiting factors, is taking into account that digital divide as well. And then obviously devices for younger students. Well, I know lots of people that use it definitely in kindergarten, even grade 1, but I think it's more to contact parents rather than students. So that is another thing, is that even in middle years or grade 5, 6, let's say, not all the kids are going to have their own devices that can use this app. So that's one of the limiting factors as well. Moving down here, I'd say that in general this is a really handy app, and the fact that it links with Google Classroom is nice as well. I know some people don't like using multiple apps to do some of the same features, but I really like it for that. And you can send file attachments as well, as another really good redeeming feature for this app. I find that it doesn't have a whole lot of bugs. It's easy to use. The platform's well set up. And so in closing, I would give this app 8 out of 10 stars, and would encourage teachers as well as students to make use of it and adapt it to how they see it working in their classroom. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.